So I've read and listened to a variety of opinions for the topic of this video, and after reading the comment sections and reading all that fun stuff and hearing opinions, yada yada yada, I wanted to make this video and give my own thoughts on the matter. For a bit of background, sometime yesterday, a variety of news outlets had made articles discussing a statement by Phil Spencer concerning VR during an interview with Survivor at X19. The article in question will be linked in the description below, or rather I should say the article/interview. Anyway, the most noted quote being highlighted from the article is the statement of, "We're responding to what our customers are asking for, and no one's asking for VR." Now the article then ends with, "I think we might get there eventually," so as to not rule it out completely, Spencer concluded. But yeah, that's not where our focus is. Later on, Sony's Shuhei Yoshida made a tweet in response stating, "We oftentimes work hard to make things that no customers are asking for." The statement was then followed by a variety of comments, somewhat going after Xbox and Phil Spencer. Anyway, if with all the information, I kind of want to give my thoughts about it. And if I'm being honest, I'm kind of surprised at the backlash that Microsoft and Phil Spencer are getting. Then again, I feel as though as of late, people will find anything to bash Xbox about. I mean, it's kind of happening with xCloud and doom and gloom, but we're not going to touch down on that. So to start, I honestly don't see anything wrong with Phil's statement, though some people may be taking the quote out of "nobody's asking for VR" as a literal statement, as no one's asking for it. Figuratively speaking, VR really isn't taking off when it comes to sales, and thus the attachment rate. With a few numbers to go by, the PSVR has sold over 100 million units, while the PS4 console has sold over 100 million units, while the PSVR headset was last recorded to hit about 4 million or so back in March. On top of that, a few state of plays throughout the year, a few state of plays that focused on VR weren't exactly met with major praise. If anyone can recall seeing an awesome Iron Man trailer and then it turns out to be VR, I recall people being disappointed with that. So with all that being said, what exactly does this tell Microsoft? In my opinion, it kind of tells them that, well, what's kind of obvious is that VR is indeed very niche. And while Xbox and Microsoft do have the resources to invest into VR and AR with HoloLens, which is an argument I've seen on different videos when going through the comment threads, you can't really fault them for not investing into VR when their biggest competitor, being Sony, shows that the investment may not be worth it entirely. Now, I've also read a fair amount of responses saying things along the lines of Xbox should invest into improving the industry moving forward with new experiences, and so this is why Sony is better! Exclamation mark. If I have to say, or rather ask, my question to that mindset is, have we forgotten their effort with evolving the landscape with Kinect or HoloLens? Granted, HoloLens isn't part of Xbox and not entirely part of gaming. It shows that Microsoft as a whole is trying new things when it comes to experimenting with tech in the VR/AR world. Another reason I bring up Kinect is that people hated it because it was gimmicky and different. I know it sold pretty well during the 360 days, so it wasn't exactly not accepted, if that's one way to put it. But on top of it being gimmicky and different, it was bundled with the Xbox One at launch, which honestly were pretty dark times. I mean, I didn't want an Xbox when it first came out because I had to buy a Kinect, so I waited for it to get cheaper. But that's, yeah. Anyway, and because of the backlash surrounding the Kinect, etc., people wanted Xbox to drop the Kinect and focus on the core experience of gaming, which is, you know, the traditional controller, got your buttons and your triggers, etc., in hand, which Microsoft eventually did. I don't even think the Xbox One X has a Kinect port, but I had to look into that. But it just shows that people really didn't value the Kinect overall, even when it wasn't bundled with the Xbox. So even now, one of the biggest criticisms for Xbox is their lack of stellar first-party lineup of first-party games, leading to various studio acquisitions that we saw last year, and a few new IPs being shown with Exo19, all of which have been met with mixed receptions, to say the least. Let's see. The issue I have with this whole scenario is, one moment people hate Xbox because they aren't focusing on the core gaming experience, as we saw with the Kinect. Yet people are bashing Xbox because they're focusing on the core experience versus niche that is VR. So it's kind of conflicting arguments going on, at least what we saw earlier in the generation, and even now when people just want the core blockbuster title. But now Xbox is being bashed for not supporting VR, which hasn't exactly had a core blockbuster title across the platforms that support it. And some may reference the new Half-Life that's coming out, but we've yet to see the actual quality of the product. Not saying it's bad, but we can't reference that to say this is an example of a huge blockbuster. So nonetheless, kind of going on a tangent, but lastly, there are those that are upset because Xbox promised to have VR, which is fair and somewhat not fair. And here's kind of why. So on one hand, it's not like they sold headsets only to stop, supporting them later down the line, which is what happened to Kinect. They don't make Kinect games anymore that I know of, and thus they weren't, or unless in that situation they were taking away the customers' money they invest into a product, and now Microsoft cut ties. Yet from another perspective, I can see the dislike of empty promises if someone purchased an Xbox on the idea of VR. So in a sense, it would be a loss of investment if your Xbox doesn't play VR. Granted, with the overall sales of the PSVR, I wonder how many this situation applies to. So yeah, anyway, I guess to sum things up, this outcry against Microsoft is somewhat confusing, if I'm to be honest. I mean, VR isn't selling like hotcakes. It's not a huge demand of VR at the moment, so demand clearly isn't there. And if I'm to be honest, I'd much rather have Xbox focus on games that won't require me to purchase and spend an additional $300, $200, $400, whatever dollars on top of the console, which many rumor would be about $500, just to play a specific title, which would be a VR title. And this is one of the reasons why I personally haven't purchased a PlayStation VR headset, due to having spent $400 on a Pro and then find out the headset itself is $200, which I know there's deals out there, but even then, I've seen some that are $200, then I've seen some for $300. Nonetheless, Xbox has shown what their current focuses are, which is the upcoming Scarlet console, the xCloud streaming service, Game Pass for the subs with game subs, and PC Play Anywhere with, as well as hopefully bringing first-party games to the mentioned services and platforms, etc., and hopefully good quality first-party games. While they aren't currently focused on VR, and for good reason, as mentioned throughout the video, I won't be surprised if they support it later down the line, whether it be a Xbox headset itself with Xbox exclusives, whatever, or making the Xbox console or Xbox Scarlet compatible with other headsets out there, such as the Oculus Rift. Until then, I really feel that this hate towards Xbox and the lack of VR is either fake outrage or a small minority turning into the vocal minority. And let me preface by saying this isn't an attempt to invalidate any concerns of Xbox and VR. if they did bring it into, they brought VR to the platform, I wouldn't be like, oh no, Microsoft, you're making VR games, you need to start making huge blockbuster games instead of that. I wouldn't have any issues with that. What I'm saying is, if things are, I feel as though things are just simply being blown out of proportion for the sake of it. As I mentioned before, it just seems people want to bash Xbox whenever they have the chance to do so. If Xbox wants to focus on things that I listed already, such as Game Pass and xCloud and Scarlet, and leave VR for later when it becomes more sought after, hopefully, you know, if the Half-Life game turns out to be amazing and actually succeeds, then perhaps we'll get more support for the VR. And if that does happen, I personally have no issue with that. With the way the Xbox generation went for Microsoft this generation, they really need to limit their goals for the next generation consoles with Scarlet and release, they really need to focus on making very good titles that don't require VR just to play them. Because I don't see you selling a lot of VR titles, even if they're spectacular, because of various things for the extra costs and the space required, etc. And it's just so weird, because one of the biggest criticisms for Xbox this generation specifically was the lack of a stellar first party lineup. People reference Sea of Thieves, State of Decay, etc., things that we don't want. But now it's VR and the lack of support of VR that's causing people to dislike Xbox. I don't know, it's weird, and it really just seems that people are kind of moving the goalposts to say, you know, one moment is this, another moment is that, as to what Xbox needs to focus on, and it's ridiculous. So, but I'm gonna try to end the video there. If you made it through the video, I appreciate you listening. Oh, can't talk. But you know, feel free to hit that like or dislike button, whichever feels appropriate. If you agree, disagree, or just, you know, anything else, and leave a comment below telling me your thoughts on the overall situation. Or if you don't want to talk about VR, you just want to talk games, just tell me what current games you're playing. Personally, I've been bouncing between Death Stranding. Recently got to chapter 3, so yeah, just carrying in boxes. Granted, I had a huge amount of fun when I found a motorcycle, and I was just flying off of mountains. It's kind of fun running over the mules. Anyway, and also I've been playing Wolfenstein on my Xbox, trying to beat that so I can get over to Wolfenstein 2 before it leaves Game Pass, whenever that happens. So yeah. Lastly, I've been playing Child of Light from Ubisoft, but I have it on my Switch. I have it on my PS4 as well, but I got it on my Switch so I can have something to play on my Switch. My brother has my copy of Legend of Zelda, so there's that. And yeah, 2 old games, but you know, better late than never. So I'm gonna stop rambling. Don't know how long the video is. Until next time, until the next video, hope you guys have fun playing games wherever you play, whatever platform you prefer, etc. And I hope you do take care. So see ya.